two of the biggest trash talkers in the league, if not the biggest, and they both have the play to back it up. So I'm excited to see if there's enough room for both of them on that team. But I think there will be. I think Embiid will gladly, make some room for a player like Butler that he knows they need on that team if they want to really contend for the NBA Finals and where they think they should be.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting dynamic in Philly now. I really think that first I want to talk about what Philly had to pay to get Jimmy Butler. Honestly, giving up Jared Bayless, Robert Covington, as well as Dario Saric, actually, like, it really influences their team and their depth. They really shortened their bench a lot, which I think is going to have a bigger impact later in the season than it will in the regular season, just because the regular season you can win games with just having the better guys on the floor. But definitely comes into account later on in the playoffs and stuff. So that's gonna definitely influence things. With their starting lineup with Fultz, I'm assuming JJ Redick's gonna have to move back into a starting role because based on where the team is, and then we got Butler. Putting Ben Simmons at the 4 is going to be interesting, and having Joel Embiid as their anchor at the 5 is definitely going to be um, an interesting caveat. Now, I don't know. I really don't know what this team's going to bring in the playoffs, just because they're not going to be nearly as deep, as well as they're going to have some issues, I think, on the court, sharing the ball somewhat, just because they're a young team.
Yeah, I think the thing that I think makes Minnesota, really, you know, really get the better in the deal. I think is because they get all these role players, and then they could fit these role players around the stars they already have on their team. In terms of 76ers and how it's going to be on the Eastern Conference, I mean, they add Jimmy Butler, who in Minnesota, and his stint is Minnesota, and we have to think about his state in Minnesota and how he didn't really want to be there, this season. I mean, he was averaging like over 20 points a game, like I believe over 4 assists a game, about 2 steals a game. We're talking about 5 rebounds a game, almost at 50% field goals. So, like, we're adding a stud, like an offensive stud, defensive stud, a real true two-way player, I think. And I think that really allows the 76ers to have a real chance to make it out of the playoffs, at least on the Eastern Conference side. The thing is, though, I just don't know if this makes their team good enough to beat the Boston Celtics. I think the Boston Celtics, you can argue, is the deepest team in the league. I mean, they have a ton of young talent, and then they have Kyrie, who is a magician with the ball. So I really like how the 76ers look right now. I'm just not convinced that this really will help them and really make them a championship team.
So we all agree then that they're not the favorite to come out of the East still.
No,
I still got Toronto. Yeah, Toronto and Boston, but I got Toronto. But I agree with both of you saying that it's not just a guarantee that they got better just because they got Jimmy Butler, like what you said, Guru. They giving up Saric and the other guys. I mean, but Saric is really the key that they're losing him there. It's almost like Butler's a better player overall, but Saric is probably almost as valuable to that team as just such a young guy too. But so Minnesota, like you said, Sal, they definitely I think got the better of the trade, getting a guy like Saric and Covington and Bayless and a future draft pick. And not only that, but getting Butler the hell out of there, that makes Wiggins better, and that's going to probably make Towns better too, just because they have him off of their back and stuff. I mean, they got D Rose going crazy too. We'll see if he keeps that up. Now that he's definitely going to keep getting a big share of the ball there. But I think the real focus here is what the Sixers do with Butler, and he is such a great two-way player that they needed out there on the wing. I mean, he's going to be their best scorer. I can't wait to see how they play with him.
Yeah, also another underrated thing is they're gonna have to Simmons is gonna have to play a lot more forward now that Saric is gone. I mean, they have Amir Johnson coming off the bench at the 4, but that's going to be an interesting dynamic because he's not really a stretch 4 because he can't shoot at all. So it's going to be interesting to see how teams are going to guard them. I think the lane's going to be a little bit more clogged because people are going to have be able to step off of Simmons a little bit. and help off on Embiid. So it's going to be interesting. I think the ball is going to be in Jimmy Butler's hands a lot more than teams that you would think, just because I don't know what Simmons is going to do off the ball. I'm not sure. And Jimmy's not really a big catch and shoot guy. He's a guy who dominates the ball. So like it's gonna be interesting, the dynamic between Simmons and Butler, and who's gonna have the ball in their hands, and where they're gonna go down the stretch. Because I think Jimmy Butler's possibly the best player on that team. I like Embiid a lot, but I think Jimmy Butler coming in might be the better player for down the stretch.
Personally, I'm not sold on Fultz either. I would like to see them use a lot of Simmons at point guard still, and just get Fultz on the bench, put in a warm body there, because I think Fultz is looking like one of the bigger busts in recent memory.
I'm not gonna. I really like Fultz coming out of college, and then I don't know what happened last year.
I was never sold on him.
I really liked him. I thought he was a good talent. I thought he could score the ball well. He's a big point guard. I like big point guards. And he's from the Maryland area, so I obviously I'm going to root for him a little bit more, just based on that. But like, I think JJ Redick's going to be the key for the squad, because he's the catch and shoot guy they need. He's going to have to log a lot more minutes. He's going to have to probably start, and he's going to have to run with the second unit and be able to stretch the floor to keep defenses honest. With Fultz not being able to shoot, and then you got Simmons not being able to shoot. It's gonna be an interesting dynamic. I'm actually really interested to see how Philly plays, but definitely not the best team in the East for sure.
Well, how far do you think their team is going to get in the playoffs then? Like, do you think they'll make it to the conference final?
Second round, just like last year.
It's going to come down to matchups, honestly. If they come in second, and they can make it to the conference finals, but if not, they may end up matching up with the Raptors or somebody or the Celtics in the second round, and then that's not.
We can't forget though. I mean, they weren't. Not a lot of people were giving much credit even last year, and then they won like 17 games in a row to end the year. So they can get hot. They have the young talent. They could get hot still, and we might be talking about them in a different way in a few months.
And coaching is going to be is underrated as well. I mean, the Celtics probably have the best coach in the Eastern Conference,
Clearly.
And the Raptors look like they could beat anybody. And they won like the most games last year in the Eastern Conference. So it'll be interesting. I'm not sold on Sixers just yet.
I think it all depends on how Ben Simmons is going to elevate his game. I think at the end of the day, he's probably, a jumper. Once he gets his jump shot, he'll be basically like LeBron. Being able to facilitate that ball and be able to be a deadly, scorer as well. And they're not going to have any excuses after this. Like, if they can't get this done, like, that's on them. Like, they got one of the pieces that is key. Now we just got to see how they gel together, and then they got to plan ahead. I think they're one piece away. But yeah, if this falls apart, I think they need to at least get past the first round. If they lose in the first round, I think this is all, it was all for nothing. So let's move on to the next topic. So let's go back to the world of football and talk about next week's game, the Monday night game. Oh, there we go. It's official tonight.
A little dusty. A little deflated.
So,
a little deflated.
Next Monday,
Deflategate ball.
The Chiefs and the Rams, they play in Mexico City, Azteca Stadium. Monday Night Football.
Stadia Azteca.
The fans overseas get a premier matchup. We're talking about 2 one-loss teams at 9-1 playing against each other. So the Azteca Stadium, I don't know if you saw the pictures for that, but it looked horrendous. The NFL was worried about the grass, doesn't know what's going to happen with that stadium. I'm not really convinced they even have a solution yet. So I don't know how that's going to affect the game. But what are you guys' thoughts going into the Monday night game next week?
Kev, thoughts?
Oh, he can't hear you.
Go ahead, Guru.
So yeah, Monday Night Football. I think the biggest factor might actually be the field conditions. I was reading an article earlier today, and it was talking about how the field is horrendous, like Sal has stated before, and it's just this hybrid grass over synthetic field. It's just not working. So I think that's going to be a huge factor in the game, especially in the running game, because both these teams have two of the best running backs in the league right now. Um, and that's going to definitely impact the ability to drive, as well as block for offensive linemen and driving for defensive linemen. So it's definitely going to be a battle between the two lines. I think that's going to be one of the biggest factors for this game is going to be the offensive lines and the defensive lines of each squad. And another premier part of this game is going to be the Chiefs offense versus the Rams defense. I think that's going to be likely the number one factor on who wins this game. If the Chiefs offense can still produce against the Rams defense, it's going to be a long game for the Rams. I was looking up the scores of the last couple games for the Rams, and their defense hasn't been playing as stellar as they started the season. However, I mean, Steve will talk about later. Aaron Donald is playing all out of this world. They've given up 40. What did they give up? They've given up 27 to the Packers, 45 to the Saints, and they gave up last week. They gave up 31 to the Seahawks, which is not that good of an offense. And they got the Chiefs coming in with probably the best offensive talent in the league, just with the guys they have, the skill position players they have. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. But I think the Chiefs offense is going to play better than the Rams defense, and I think the Chiefs are going to be able to pull it off.
It's a bold pick. That's a bold pick. Yeah, I mean, the field conditions is just really not a good look for the league. I don't know why they didn't have a backup plan in place if they don't, because you're putting your two biggest, brightest, offensive showcase of teams in the league besides the Saints, and you're putting them on this field where apparently, it's a danger to all these star skill players. Like, imagine if Tyreek Hill or Kareem Hunt or Todd Gurley goes down, or Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's going to ruin, like, the rest of the NFL season for me. Like, I hate seeing star players go down. We've been so lucky, like, all year this year. But, yeah, let's just hope we can make it through this one without any big injuries. But I can't wait to see this matchup, guys. It's, like, the most hyped I've been for a Monday night game in a long time, as far as I can remember. I mean, look at the game we had tonight. A 2-win team and a 1-win team. Like, Monday night has become a joke. It's worse than Thursday night football now, especially with this broadcast crew. So, I mean, I'll probably be watching the game on mute or with, like, some different play-by-play in the background. Maybe I'll be talking to you guys. But it's going to be pretty cool. I can't wait to watch it. As for a prediction, I agree with, like, what Guru was saying. The Chiefs' offense versus the Rams' defense is the better matchup, because I don't see how the Chiefs' defense can possibly stop the Rams' offense. No one can, really, no matter how good your defense is. And the Chiefs have one of the worst defenses in the league. The Rams, like Guru said, they have not been playing like one of the better defenses, but they have the talent there, clearly. I mean, Marcus Peters has been getting burned a lot this year, but he's still got big play potential in the secondary. So the secondary has been lacking, but that defensive line, the front four, is still arguably as good as anybody in football. They got the best player in football, and Dominican Sue is a pretty good, sidekick to have on the line there. So if those guys can create some pressure on Mahomes, which I fully expect them to, I think Mahomes is going to be in for the toughest day of his career so far. He's had 11 games now in his career, and he's only lost one of them, and he's just looked amazing in all of them. So I think he's finally due for a letdown of a performance, or at least a bad performance by his standards. Maybe like 250 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks, or something like that. And just a big day from Aaron Donald in that defense. And I think the Rams are going to come out of there with a win and show that they're the best overall team.
I think if the Rams can stop Kareem Hunt, and then I think they'll be able to basically fill out the box whenever he's running, and then key in on Mahomes on, obvious passing downs. And then in terms of the Rams, I do think that they're going to suffer a little bit with Cooper Kupp out. I think he's got a torn ACL. From
I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but yeah,
from what I
probably
read,
out for the year.
or at least that's what the sources are saying. And I
Yeah.
think he's a big part of that offense. I mean, he's a big splash play guy. I think catches of 20 or plus more yards, that was his forte. So, in terms of the field conditions, do you think it will affect the Chiefs or the Rams more?
That's a good
I would say
question.
the
I mean,
Rams.
yeah, I think the Chiefs, because for some reason, I see Tyreek Hill as a guy who, he can cut, but I feel like the defenders are going to have a big problem with him not knowing whether he's going to, pull up on a curl or go deep on them. And if they make one false move and slip against him, that guy, like Larry Fitzgerald was saying after the game last week, is unlike any player he's ever seen. And I would have to agree. I mean, I foresee like a big game out of him for the Chiefs. Like, I know I just said the Rams are going to win, but I don't know. As for who it's going to affect more, I don't know. For some reason, that's what I'm seeing. These field conditions happen is having an effect on the Rams defenders trying to stop Tyreek Hill. But in the end, either team can win, but I'm still going with the Rams.
I think the Rams also, just because I think it's going to impact our ability to rush the ball. I think their offense is more predicated to running the ball with Todd Gurley. I mean, Todd Gurley is one of the best in the league. So it's running the ball with Todd Gurley as much as it's the pass rush. Pass rushers being able to get a grip and get a good push, trying to get to the quarterback. So I think it's going to affect them, as well as what Steve said. I can definitely agree with that. If anybody slips in the secondary on Tyreek Hill, it's over. He's gone. And Patrick Mahomes can just flick his wrist and get it down the field. So it's definitely, I think it's going to be an interesting one to see if they. I really wonder what the league is going to do about the field conditions. Hopefully they have some sort of plan to fix it. Hopefully they're flying a field down right now to fix it. They got the resources. They can do it. I know they can.
Yeah, I'm gonna go against you guys. Actually, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs winning against the Rams. I think Justin Houston coming back. I mean, he had a pick during the game that helped them late. Seal the deal, and I really think that their defense is gonna come along together, and they're gonna be able to get some stops on the Rams. And I do think Mahomes is gonna be tough to stop. Doesn't matter how the field is. I think he's gonna win. So we'll see.
So
who's right. Maybe
you and Guru picked the Chiefs then, right?
Yeah, I picked the Chiefs.
Right.
For sure.
Both wrong.
What do you got as a score?
It's gonna be a shootout.
28,
It's gonna be a shootout.
35,
38-35 Rams.
Yo, I wrote down 38-35 Chiefs.
Okay.
Crazy. It's going to be a barn burner for sure.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So I mean, speaking of teams in the NFL, let's talk about the top 5 teams. And I think that both the Chiefs and the Rams are going to be on both of your lists, or at least that's what I'm guessing.
I would hope so.
But
I would hope so as well. Jesus.
So who do you guys have as the top 5? I hope you guys been thinking about this all day, because this is what everyone wanted to hear.
Top five.
What?
Okay.
Which teams? Is Rams number 1? Chiefs number 1? Those.
All right, I'm gonna start with my number 5 team in the NFL power rankings. We're week 10 right now, boys, so we can start putting these things out. And we have the evidence. We have enough data to go with here, I think. So number 5, they didn't look good early, but they won 5 in a row. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, they just put up 52 points on Ron Rivera's boys. The Carolina Panthers been looking really good. Not till Thursday night. Now people are questioning they got Cam Newton and their team questioning their whole identity, who they are. I mean, Cam looked like a defeated man in that press conference, even though he was looking, dripped as always. But that performance on Thursday night was one of the best I've seen. Of course, the Saints went up and did their thing and put a 50 bomb up too. So we can't forget about them. But I think the Steelers' offense, when it clicks, it could be the best in the league out of all of these amazing offenses we've seen. And the defense, as we all know, is just playing better than I think some of us thought they could without Ryan Shazier. They're playing as well as they were with Ryan Shazier last year. And a lot of that credit goes to John Bostic stepping in and really, filling a much-needed hole for them. It's like it's not a weak spot for them like everyone thought it would be. But so the Steelers, that tie against the Browns still haunts them a little bit here. So they're only number 5 in my rankings, but I have them in the top 5. Number 4, they have a worse record than the Steelers, but until the Steelers beat them, I think we have to put the Patriots at number 4. There's a big matchup coming next month, but we'll get to that when it comes. New England didn't look good yesterday, losing 34-10 against Tennessee. You kind of had to not see that coming. No one saw that coming, but you kind of had a feeling Mike Vrabel had those guys up and ready to play and maybe knew a little bit more than some opposing coaches do about the way Bill Belichick runs things over there. And Tom Brady, too. He's got a few touchdowns from Tom Brady. So, that win had to feel good for him, and that was really surprising considering Tennessee hasn't looked great all year. But, that's just one of those blips on the radar for New England, and I feel like they probably won't lose another game the rest of the regular season. We'll see them, as they always are in the playoffs, either 12-4, 13-3, winning their division, and probably the road in the AFC is going to run through them. Number 3, this is where it gets tough. We got 3 one-loss teams. They're all putting up about 35 points a game. They're all looking like the most electrifying teams in the league, always debating for that title. So I've gone back and forth with this. But number 3 is going to be the Chiefs. And they are dominant. I mean, they hung 42 on the Steelers week 2, and Mahomes threw 6 touchdowns. And it was like, wow, this guy looks like the second coming of Brett Favre or something. And maybe even a better Brett Favre. I don't know. He's such a gunslinger. And he just, every time you see him unleash that deep ball, it's going to be a big game. And he just zooms it by the defenders. There's nothing they can do. You can't make a play on it. So it's incredible. It's been fun to watch. We've talked a lot about him on the show. I mean, Tyreek Hill is just continuing to be amazing. And, you can't ask for a better tight end than Travis Kelce. And Kareem Hunt's a pretty good running back, too. So that's the offense. They need to fix the defense. That's why they're only number 3. I mean, a lot of people have said they're the best offense. I think that debate is a great one, and it's still going to be up for debate until this year's over. I think they're definitely in the conversation, but there's some other teams with some good offenses that I think have better defenses. And that's why those are my top 2. And this is where it really is going to get tricky because the New Orleans Saints, they've won 8 in a row. The hottest team in football, and these are just power rankings, I know, and they just beat the LA Rams, but I have them number 2 on my power rankings. They got Drew Brees at quarterback running the show, only 1 pick all year. Going to come in second in MVP voting to Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a great season, just another runner-up finish for him. And Alvin Kamara, obviously, beast. Mark Ingram, beast. Mike Thomas, beast. But the difference for them, I think they have a little bit more talent on defense than the Chiefs do. Cameron Jordan still, we can't forget about him. He's not playing as dominant as he was last year, but he's one of the best edge rushers in the league still. That's going to help come playoff time. When it's time to pin your ears back and get a sack. I remember him doing it in the playoffs last year. He's the guy that no one really can block coming off the edge. And then Marcus Lattimore hasn't been as good. Marshawn Lattimore, I'm sorry. Which one is it? I get mixed up. Lattimore to corner. He hasn't been as locked down as he was as a rookie. But they have him. So you can't ask for much more than having a shutdown corner and a top 5 or so edge rusher on your team. So we'll give them credit for that, but their defense still has holes, and that's why they're not the number 1 team on my list. It's the LA Rams. Yes, they lost in New Orleans, gave up 45 points, but, as the Saints have shown, they can do that to anybody. I think the Rams, though, with Sean McVay calling the plays, he's got the magic touch. He just knows how to dial up teams to get his guys wide open, get Jared Goff easy completions, and Goff has just been putting them on the money. So, I mean, Gurley just looks like Superman in the backfield. It's just crazy every week what he's done. Touchdowns in all 10 games this year, 13 games in a row. He's not going to break LT's record, but, man, he's gonna come close at least. But the thing that puts him over the top for me is that defense that I've talked about. Aaron Donald, I mean, to have the best defensive player in the world, the best football player in the world, in my opinion, on your team, I mean, with that offense, it really changes the game. Teams have to prepare for him. They don't know how to stop him. And you got Ndamukong Suh, Michael Brockers, some other really good guys on the D line. So, I mean, if Peters can get things turned around, if Talib comes back and, they can get the back end of the secondary working well, they're going to be a scary team because I think that defense can play a lot better than it has lately, and I think we're going to see that down the stretch. I think the Rams are still my pick to come out of the NFC. I mean, a lot of it's just going to come down to who gets that home field. If the Saints get home field, maybe not. But if we're talking just the best team right now, I still think it's the Rams.
Crazy.
Marshawn.
Sorry.
Marshawn.
I think I said Marcus the first time.
Yeah, Marshawn.
All right, so now I'm gonna go to the right NFL power ranking. I wanted to put the Patriots in the top 5. I really did, but after them losing to the Titans, I couldn't do it. So at number 5, I've got the LA Chargers. I think they're playing really, really good football on both sides of the field. Their defense is playing really strong. Their offense is playing very, very strong. I love Phillip Rivers. Melvin Gordon is running the ball like in the top 5 at running back at this point. He's running the ball very well. He's getting touchdowns. I just like that. I like the LA the Chargers team. I like how they started the season. I believe they're 8-2 right now. So I think they're going to 7-2. 7-2. They're 7-2 right now, and I'm gonna take the Chargers right now over the Pats just because the Pats just had a terrible loss this week. Think
about that. Think about what you just said. You just took the Los Angeles Chargers over the New England Patriots. Do you really think that sounds smart?
I think it sounds smart right now. Yes, I do.
Is it just because they have one less loss? Because come on, think about it. Who's a better team? Who's going to win the game? I think the
Chargers are playing better football right now. Power rankings are about right now. We're not talking about the future. We're talking about this second.
We're not just talking about last week either. The Patriots look really good until that week. I mean, we know it's the Patriots.
I mean, the Chargers are looking just as good, honestly. They're winning games.
They always start hot. See if they finish hot.
We'll see later on in the season. But if we're talking right now, I'm definitely taking the Chargers over the Pats right this second.
Okay.
All right. Number 4, who I think a team that's running away with the AFC North right now, it's the Steelers. I hate it.
Sad to see it.
So sad to see it, honestly. But, I mean, the offensive weapons, Connor's just running the ball out of his mind, honestly. The defense is playing really well. Antonio Brown, the best wide receiver in football. I mean, you would think I was a Steelers fan the way I'm talking about them right now, but they're just playing really good football. So I gotta put them at number 4. And honestly, a big component of it is the defense. The defense is playing a lot better than I thought they would after playing the Ravens early in the season. I thought that their defense was atrocious, and they've definitely picked it up throughout the season. And I would definitely put them 4. And then 3, this is where things get interesting. You got the one-loss teams. I'm going to go with the Chiefs as well at 3. I agree with Steve. They have of the 3 teams, they definitely have the worst defense. Houston coming back was definitely going to help them. But they have probably the most explosive offense in the league. They have great weapons at their skill position. Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt. I like Sammy Watkins. He was out last week, but I like Sammy Watkins as well. Their team is really good, and Patrick Mahomes is playing great football. Not going to win the MVP, obviously, because Drew Brees is going to win it. But I would definitely say I would put them 3. And then at 2, I got – this one was the hardest one, but I'm going to go with the team that won the game – that lost the game in the matchup. So I'm going to put the Rams at number 2. Their only loss was to the Saints, so in my opinion, they're worse than the other team. So I'm going to put the Rams at 2.
The Saints lost to the Buccaneers, so are the Buccaneers number 1?
No. I mean, I'm just.
The Rams have the best loss, don't they? They have the best loss in the league. If this was
They
college
do have the
football,
best.
they should be number one. If this was the college football rankings, but
Yeah, but I mean, if we're going by offenses, the Buccaneers are leading the league in yards per game.
they are.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
No, I'm definitely taking the Rams at 2. I mean, it's tight. Both teams are playing really good football. I think Sean McVay calling the plays. The Cup injury definitely influences things a little bit. Just because I'm not sure how they're going to play now that Cup is hurt. Hopefully he's going to be able to come back, but if it's an ACL tear, he's done. The defense is probably the best in the league, if not the best in the league, even though they've been struggling a little bit these last couple of weeks. I mean, they've been playing really prolific offenses, Packers, Saints. I don't know how you give up 31 to the Seahawks, but, I mean, that happens. And then I got number 1. We're going with the Saints. They had the key win versus the Rams. Drew Brees is 21 touchdowns, 1 interception. I mean, what more can you ask for your quarterback? Kamara, 10 touchdowns, playing well. The two-headed monster in the backfield.
He's got 14. Don't short him now.
14. No, 10 rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
And then we got who else? I mean, Michael Thomas is playing out of his mind. I don't know how. I really, honestly, don't know how the Saints offense really does it with just having one prolific wide receiver on the outside. But they keep winning games. They keep putting up tons of yards. And Brees keeps throwing touchdowns. So I think that the Saints are going to be number 1. I think they're gonna end up winning the NFC as well. I think they might end the season with just 1 loss. I don't see them losing another game just because they're playing just great football. So,
you think they're going to win their last
Steelers.
15 games?
Yes, sir. That's what I think.
We'll see about that.
I don't see anyone slowing them down. And if they get home field advantage, they're coming.
We got a date with them Steelers in December.
Yeah, and you guys going to stop them defensively?
I don't know.
Or are the Steelers going to be able to? Probably not. I can see that being a shootout. But I think the Saints defense is better than the Steelers defense. So I would definitely
disagree.
Disagree. Crazy. I don't know. I'm definitely taking the Saints in that matchup early. I wonder what the line is for that game. What the line will be for.
Well, the line for Rams Chiefs is the highest since 1986, at least 64.
That's crazy.
Over under. Sorry.
The over under, yeah.
The highest.
I wonder. I would take the under.
I wouldn't. I haven't. Yeah, but I haven't. Yeah, you're right. The field point.
Yeah.
Our predictions have the over.
So
38-35.
Actually, I have some breaking news. Breaking news from our exclusive reporter, DC Childs. Cup is done. The ACL is. ACL.
Sources confirmed.
So sources have
sources.
Shout out
Cooper
DC
Kupp
Childs.
is out for a season, and also shouts to DB Childs for the comment on the stream. He gave his own top 5, and his top 5 is different than both of you guys's, and it's also different from mine. So I'm gonna give you his first. He got Patriots number 5, Steelers number 4, and then Chiefs 3, Rams 2, and Saints is the best team.
Same as Guru, but switched to 5. I respect it. It's all respectable.
So, I think you guys have arguments that make sense, but I think you guys are wrong. So, Chargers, I do think is the 15. I think the Patriots, it doesn't matter if Vrabel, has some insight. Doesn't matter if Patricia had some insight. Maybe that Patriots, insight will work against certain teams. But then there's other teams that will never be able to beat the Patriots. But I'm trying to compare everything in the general scheme of things without considering like one-on-one matchups. Just like if you just took this team straight up, like is it better? And I think that Chargers is better than the New England Patriots. Number 4, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Connor is basically the third best running back in the league, and that's facts. And the facts don't move around that.
Thank you.
We have you have T.J. Watt, Cameron Hayward, Stephon Tuitt. I think it looks like Bud Dupree is coming along with Bostic, Vince Williams, pick 6 on Thursday. Joe Hayden was one of the best cornerbacks and has been pretty solid. Looks like Burnett coming back has really helped this defense. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers defense ends up becoming a top 15 defense by the end of the season. But they're still not better than the one-loss teams. Of course, I think the Chiefs are, I don't know if anyone can fully trust Mahomes yet. We'll see how it is during the postseason. We'll see how it is when it comes to, games late in the season, December and into January. Like, how is he going to play?
Oh, I trust Mahomes.
Next week's going to be a big test.
Yeah, we'll see. Because, it's hard to sustain success for a very, very long time in this league. Number 2, though, I have the New Orleans Saints. I think that Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram are the best tandem duo backfield in the game. I think Drew Brees is probably the most trustworthy quarterback out of all 5 of the quarterbacks of the teams that I'm talking about. And then you have the Rams. I said this on Sunday, watching the Seahawks game. When it's third down and you have a 3rd and long, I don't know how you stop Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh. I don't know how any team can do it. Maybe you can beat them on a possession or a drive, but to do it the whole game, I just don't know who's going to be able to do that come postseason time. So that's it. So that's crazy. We have 4 different top 5 rankings, and none of them are exactly the same. So it shows that we all have diverse opinion, and no one is being bullied into saying anything on here. We're not being paid by the league. These are opinions by experts sitting on couches at home. So it is what it is.
If the league wants to cut me a check, though, okay.
I'll put the pats on top. I swear.
So any honorable mentions?
That's a Cowboys.
Any honorable mentions that are outside the top 5 that you think have a chance to?
Houston, baby. Houston, watch out. They're hot. They're number 7 for me, and they're climbing. Because if Deshaun is really fully back to form with Demarius and D-Hop, watch out. J.J. Watt on defense. I mean, they can play with anybody. Don't sleep on Houston.
I had Houston at 7. Also, I like the Panthers, but they just got obliterated last week. So yeah. I'm not sure what's going on in their hearts and their souls after that defeat to the Steelers. Definitely say the Panthers. I mean, they look really good, except for the 1 week they played the Steelers.
Well, if you want one more, I got the Vikings too. I mean, the record doesn't exactly show it. They have the tie on there, but I think just 5-3-1 in the bye week. But with Dalvin coming back and Murray still, it's a good 1-2 punch. Kirk Cousins slinging it to Thielen and Diggs, and then Everson Griffin coming back on defense for them really helps to go with Danielle Hunter. I mean, they still are one of the most complete teams in football. Expect to see them back in the playoffs. No one's really picking them to come out of the NFC now like they were earlier, but it'll be tough to go on the road against the Rams and the Saints and stuff, but Minnesota's still a very strong team.
Yeah, I think for me, I think Houston's the team that would, I think, make the most noise just because the conference isn't as strong. I think Minnesota is nice. I think Chicago might surprise us, but we'll see. Yeah. It's just I'm so shocked.
They've been surprising me
with the way they've been playing, and they've been playing in a way that seems sustainable in December.
I mean, Nagy is a great coach. It seems. I can't believe none of us shouted him out for Coach of the Year last time. Yeah. He is coaching them a phenomenal games. Like,
I think we're just skeptical. I think we're just a little skeptical.
We are,
but I mean,
they could surprise us.
Which teams are you shocked that aren't in the top 5 or even in conversation in the top 5 that you thought would have been a surefire pick at the beginning of the year?
Easy, Philly. I mean, the Super Bowl champs might not make the playoffs, and they didn't lose much, really. So I thought they'd be back in there. I mean, they were gaining Carson Wentz back, and they won it without him. Obviously, it took him a while to get back to form. He's not really all the way there yet, but I'm pretty surprised they lost that game to Dallas, and they're only sitting at 4-5 now, and really in trouble, danger of missing the playoffs after winning it all.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say Philly as well. Their defense just isn't playing well, which they added guys to their defense. They didn't really lose anyone. They added talented defensive line. Yeah, they added Michael Bennett. I think I thought their defense would be really stellar this year, and it's just fallen a little bit short. As well as they're just not there offensively. Their timing seems like it's just a little bit off with Wentz coming back. So I would definitely say Philly is definitely one of the biggest surprises that just fell out. They kind of fell off a cliff. But I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs either because the Redskins are playing good football. That's another team that's been pretty surprising.
And if you want one more surprise, it's definitely the Jaguars hitting at 3-6 after losing to Indy.
What did they do?
If they don't beat the Steelers, their season is over. So they're going to be motivated, really, really hungry, and they're always capable of beating the Steelers. They seem to have their number. So especially at home, we'll see about it. I mean, obviously playing at home didn't help the Steelers last year against them either time, but. So the Steelers are going to be hungry for revenge there, but the Jaguars need that win more than the Steelers do. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get it. I don't know if they could even make the playoffs if they do get it. I'm shocked. I mean, sure, Blake Bortles was their quarterback, but the defense, even though it's been good, it's not been up to last year's performance. Man, what happened to them? They were on the cusp of the Super Bowl.
Or even the year before, I think they're definitely taking steps backwards. So let's.
It's hard to sustain greatness in the NFL.
Yeah. It's hard. It's really, really, really hard. So that's it for topics for our debate section of the show. So let's go ahead and let's get the spiel, man. So let's ask these guys what the spiel is. So Scuba Steve, what's the spiel?
What's on my mind and the spiel is what we've been talking about for a lot of this show, it seems like, and that is a young man, from just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in Penn Hills. You know, he grew up there, he played high school ball there, and then he went to Pitt, where not a lot of people really followed his college career. But he won all the Defensive Player of the Year awards, Bednarik, Nagurski, Outland, every single piece of hardware he could get at Pitt. Consensus All-American, consensus best defensive player in college football. But you know what they said about him? They said he was still too small. He was undersized. He fell out of the top 10 picks. Can you imagine that? Out of the top 10 picks of the NFL draft. Well, luckily enough, someone was smart enough to select a young man by the name of Aaron Donald in Los Angeles and in St. Louis back then. But now he's in LA playing for the Rams, and he is just playing the best football of his career, and he is playing like the best football player in the world today. I mean, I know there's a lot of great offensive players running the ball like Todd Gurley, quarterback slinging it, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Mahomes. I don't care. None of them plays their position to a higher level than Aaron Donald does for really his entire career. And it's not that this is a new development, and I'm not saying this to be some hot take for you guys, because a lot of people, you all know how good Aaron Donald is, but sometimes you gotta give him a couple of years to play at that highest level, which he's been doing for a couple of years. He's been the best player in the NFL, and now that he's still getting better every single year and every time out. Even without training camp and preseason, he holds out. Last year he missed a game, didn't even play in the preseason or the season opener, and he still won Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, this year no preseason, and he's playing even better. So look at this man's numbers right now. Tape is one thing, but to put up this kind of numbers as a defensive tackle is unheard of. 12.5 sacks right now in 10 games. That's leading the league. So one more sack in each of the team's last 6 games, he's going to set the record for sacks by a defensive tackle in the NFL. That was set in 1989, 18 sacks. So he has a chance not only to break that, but to crack 20 sacks coming off the inside of the line. It's just unbelievable if you watch him. He's also leading the league in tackles for loss. He's unstoppable against the run. He is unblockable, like Sal said, on third down. Even it doesn't matter who your quarterback is. Russell Wilson is one of the most mobile quarterbacks, best dual threat, scrambling out of the pocket magicians we've ever seen in this league. And every time the Seahawks play the Rams, you know it. He's not escaping that pocket. Aaron Donald just puts the clamps on him every single time. It never changes. I mean, Russell Wilson must be up all night going to those games because it is always such a long day for him there at the office. And yesterday was no different, 2.5 sacks, all in big, crucial situations. And this is a guy who also plays every snap for them. But they were talking about on the broadcast, McVay had to pull him out of the game for a snap at one point because he was too busy, too frustrated that they weren't calling these holding calls on him. He is a ferocious competitor. He started a fight out there when a guy hit him too hard when he picked up the fumble that was called back, hit him late out of bounds, and he was just trying to fight everybody on that O-line. I mean, an animal out there. No one can stop him, even though he's not the biggest guy. He's usually the smallest guy in his trenches, but he is the strongest guy. He's the fastest guy. He's the most determined competitor out there. You just cannot stop him. He's the most dominant defensive player I can remember seeing, even up there with J.J. Watt. I mean, this guy might be better at playing defense than LeBron James is at playing basketball. That's the best comparison I can come up with. He's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time, and he should be recognized as the best player in the world right now.
Yeah, man, Aaron Donald, we've been praising him. I think
Respect.
every week we've been giving him a lot of praise, and we were just talking about how he lost to Zach Lee last week, and then now he's back on top. And I think I think Defensive Player of the Year is definitely in reach, but maybe even an MVP. Do you think it's possible? I mean,
not this year.
Not this year.
But he's still the best. He'll get his back-to-back T Player of the Year, though.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, Real Sportsguru, what's the spiel, man?
All right. The spiel this week, my spiel is all about the Houston Rockets. So this summer, the Houston Rockets needed to retain Clint Capella as well as Chris Paul. So to do that, they had to pay them a ton of money, go into the luxury tax, but they had to sacrifice 2 players on their team, Luke Bahamute as well as Trevor Ariza. Both of these players were the defensive. They were big defensive players for them. They were also like the heart and soul of the team. They were a scrappy team last year. I mean, they were a win away from beating the Golden State Warriors last year. And if Chris Paul doesn't go down, I think they might have been able to beat them last year in the playoffs, and to go into the championship and lose to LeBron. But their team was on the precipice of being great. And then the offseason came around, and they had to get rid of those players. And they could only pick up one player, and they could only do it at the veteran minimum because they were in the luxury tax. Insert Hoodie Melo. So they get Hoodie Melo. So Melo ends up joining the team. And they look good in the offseason. Melo's got the hoodie on. He's got the capris on. They're working out. They're making shots in the offseason. Everything looks good. I mean, they look amazing. The season comes around and things are not as they looked in the offseason. The team's just not playing well. They aren't playing good defense. They're not playing good offense. They are ranked currently 21st in offense and defense in the league right now. So they're not doing anything well. And Carmelo Anthony is a big reason why. Carmelo Anthony's got 2 starts in 10 games. He's shooting 40% from the field, 30% from 3, averaging about 13 points. But Carmelo Anthony is not a type of player you want to be coming off your bench, honestly, because he needs the ball. He's a volume scorer. He takes a lot of shots. And for a team like Houston, the shots just aren't there. So he can never get in rhythm. And the team's going to suffer because of it. And he doesn't play a lot of defense at all. He never played defense really in his career, and he's known for not being a big defensive player. He replaced 2 guys that do a lot of things that are like the glue to keep the team together. He play defense, get loose balls, get rebounds. These are all things that Carmelo Anthony's never been known for, and he's never going to be known for. I mean, he was a superstar type player, and he does superstar type things, but he doesn't. But they're all on the offensive end. They're not really on the defense or hustle plays and things like that. So, what I believe is going to occur is that Carmelo is going to end up having to part ways with the team. A lot of reports are saying that he's going to that him and the team are parting ways. I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. I'm not sure if he's going to go to another team, or I don't know who's going to want him on their team, honestly. Hopefully, it's probably going to be a team that wants to sell tickets, like the Nets or something, because he's not bringing championship basketball to a team at this point in his career. He's currently did not play on Sunday, and it seems like there's a lot of reports saying that there's no way he's coming back. Like they're not going to bring him back. He's just gonna. That was the indication that him and the team are going to be parting ways. So I don't know what's next for Carmelo Anthony. Honestly, I think he's going to end up on a scrub team, playing scrub minutes, doing scrub things. And I really like Carmelo Anthony. I like the way he plays basketball. He has his offensive game is he's got one of the best offensive. He was one of the best offensive talents in the history of the league. His ability to shoot the ball, to be able to play in the post, and with his size, I thought he's one of my favorite players. I love to emulate his game, but his game is definitely not good for the Rockets, and I think they're going to be parting ways. R.I.P. Hoodie Melo.
I think just to put a note on that, he's a great offensive player, but rather than one of the great offensive talents in history, I'd say he's one of the great scorers. But when it comes to all of offense and facilitating for the rest of the team, man, he never had it. He's an incredible scorer, maybe one of the top 10 ever for that low post game, and that mid-range jump shot was literally one of the best ever, man, in his prime. It's sad to see how far he's fallen, but he's just the type of guy who just doesn't win championships, man. He never was going to, unless he had another superstar with him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. He had a few chances in Denver, but they could never get out of the first round. It's unfortunate.
That's tough. And speaking of people who have kind of fallen from greatness a little bit, I'm just going to do a quick spiel because I don't even want to spend this much time on it, but I got to do it for the DMV. What is going on with Fat John Wall?
I knew it.
But
Rose Bar, baby.
Come on.
Rose Bar.
You were at Rose Bar. Come on. Any of us going to Rose Bar is one thing, but you going to Rose Bar, you're getting paid all this money, man. You can't show up like this. Like, you can't show up like you went to McDonald's the night before the game. Please. John Wall, I have your jersey. And I'm a big fan. Please. You got to get back to that all-star level of play that you were at a year and a half ago. So, man, shout out to the DMV, man. Shout out to Chocolate City. I feel so bad for you guys. That team is gonna get blown up, and it's just a shame because they were close to maybe finding one more piece to being the Celtics. But yeah, on some
it's because they added Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard's
a cancer to every team. To every one possible. So yeah, I mean that was my spiel. Wanted to take a minute or two just to commemorate the great Stan Lee, man. Stan Lee passed away today. He passed away at the age of 95, and to commemorate it, I'm gonna pay what I think were my favorite, the top 5 Stan Lee cameos of all time. It's a Muslim's favorites. So take a look, guys.
Well, the 60s were fun, but now I'm paying for it.
That one, old man Stan Lee, making a little bit fun of his age. That was the last Stan Lee cameo I saw. That was Ant-Man and the Wasp that came out this summer. Man, just to think about him leaving just makes me super sad. Here's what I think is number 4. This one was from Civil War.
Are you Tony Stank?
Yes, this is Tony Stank. You're in the right place. Thank you for that. Never dropping that, by the way. Table for one, Mr. Stank. Please, by the bathroom.
That one, when I saw that one, I laughed a lot. So Stanley had a lot of different phrases. He used to call his fans the true believers. And he also had this phrase called Excelsior. It kind of was an ode to all of those old films. So this one for Avengers gives a little homage to that.
The wreck of Grunhill's fleet is not meant for mortal men.
Neither was Omaha Beach, Blondie. Stop trying to scare us. Come on.
All right.
Excelsior.
And that was that. So my heart hurts today. Means a lot as a Marvel fan to see someone that great and innovative. And Stan Lee always thought of people, especially in sports, as people who are above and beyond, and basically we're superheroes, people that normal people like us can look up to. And that's how it is with the athletes. We see their work ethic, we want to mimic it, we want to find that success in life. So R.I.P. Stan Lee. So that's it for the spiel tonight. I appreciate all you guys for coming and participating in the debate with me, like always. Scuba Steve, Real Sports Guru. I'm missing something. We don't have Lotus Tile 17, which means we don't have Black Belly's Waiver Wonders. So I'm sorry about that, guys. We couldn't get the Waiver Wonders in. We weren't able to get it in for you. So you guys this week are going to have to go into fantasy completely blind. So I apologize that again. Quay sends his condolences. I'm just kidding. He gave me the picks. He gave me the picks. He gave him a little late, but they are here. So his number 1 pick, Black Belly's pick, is Theo Riddick from the Detroit Lions. So Riddick put up 6 receptions, 60 yards last week. So if you're in a PPR league, you might want to consider getting this guy. Theo Riddick, I mean, we've seen him before in that crowded backfield in the Lions. He can be a good streamer, and Black Belly believes. So you might want to believe in Theo Riddick too. Number 2 is Maurice Harris, the wide receiver for Washington. So you've heard about the Washington Redskins and the situation they've been in with all the injuries that they've had. So getting Maurice Harris is pretty good. You would want to probably think of him as probably a solid wide receiver 3 or flex option in a PPR format. So number 3, you want to go with Rashad Penny. So Chris Carson is hurt, and Mike Davis is the other running back there, but he's been spending a lot of time. If you saw the Rams game yesterday between the Rams and the Seahawks, both of the running backs are able to eat, especially if you have the space to pick up Penny. He might be a good streamer. If you think about this week, he had 12 rushes for 108 yards and a touchdown. So Penny might be a problem for Mike Davis owners. So if you're a Mike Davis owner and you need someone to handcuff, that might be someone you want to pick up. Number 4, you might want to get Josh Adams, running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's it. And then, and Quay also mentioned Rashard Higgins also for Cleveland. He said you might want to pick him up if you need it. QB flyers you might want to go with. He likes Prescott, 270 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. And then he likes Blake Bortles against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So those are 2 QB flyers he likes. And then if you're looking for a Cooper Kupp replacement, you might want to go with a tight end that might have a little bit more upside. he was thinking of Tyler Higbee, the Gerald Everetts of the world, Josh Reynolds. So that's what
That ain't gonna replace Cooper Kupp.
It's not gonna Back Belly believes it, and
Hey, if he said it, I believe.
yeah, that's what he said. But then again, look at what the Patriots are doing. So who knows? So that's it. Lotus Towel, you're here in spirit. Hopefully he'll be back next week. Hopefully we'll see all of us back next week with the grace of God. And thank you guys for watching. If you guys are following already, thanks for following. Thanks for the support. If you like the show and you don't mind to hit the subscribe button and helping us out, anything that we get through subscriptions is going to help us make the show a lot better. We'll be able to buy better equipment and be able to use those funds to make this as smooth as possible and to give you guys the most entertaining show as possible. So if you're not doing it already, you can subscribe. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can do the Prime sub for free. So you can link your Twitch account with your Amazon Prime account and you can Prime sub for free. So hit the button at the top and subscribe, hit the follow. Thanks again. And we'll see you next Monday, 8:30, after the Rams-Chiefs game. And if you're lucky, maybe you'll get a live look in at the watch party. So maybe you guys will be lucky. We'll see. Well, thanks again, everyone.
Pre-stream.
Thanks for the panelists. I want to thank everyone watching and see you next week, guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.